All right, welcome to Tulsiology. My name is Dave. I wanted to do a confession here on the channel. The other day, I had my friend Charles Anderson on, and we were talking about a lot of things, and I was supposed to tell people what I did when I voted. And full disclosure, I'm here in the state of Florida, and I decided to vote for Donald Trump again. Now, maybe it was cowardice on my part. First of all, there's no place to write in Tulsi Gabbard. I checked the ballot over, and at least in my county, did not have a place for write-in. I was thinking about voting for Joe Jorgensen. I more or less committed to doing that, but I chickened out. Because even though, and libertarians, I love you guys. I'm about 80 to 90% libertarian in my views, but there's a 10 or 20% that, unless the system is reformed, I don't know how you do, full strength libertarianism. Maybe you still can. I don't know how many people it's going to be attractive to. I do believe in a culture, though, where service should happen before self. It's the Tulsi Gabbard mentality is definitely libertarian. It's definitely you're in control of your destiny and stop complaining. There's a lot of that. But there's also a lot of compassion toward those who haven't figured out how to do that. And that's my Christian thinking there. I'm a nominal Christian, but this year has been challenging for me because I've been clinging a little harder to my faith, because there's not much else to cling to. For those of you who are atheist or agnostic, and this isn't a shot at anybody, I'm just wondering what it is that keeps you going. I know Tulsi Gabbard has a strong faith. We may not share the same faith, but I know she understands Christianity because she practiced Christianity for quite a while. And typically she celebrates both the Christian holidays and the Hindu stuff. So I think she's a very interesting person. That's what I love about Tulsi Gabbard is she looks at things through a lens that few of us even try to look through. We're too busy being angry at each other. So let me get to the Trump vote. Hopefully I don't lose a lot of subscribers. By the way, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, think about doing that. Big tech is doing some weird things to different channels. They've kind of kept this channel where it's at for quite some time. And I know I changed the name of the channel several times. I didn't do a lot of good for myself when I rebelled for a while, and I was off the Tulsi train, that's for sure. Was not riding on the Tulsi Express. And of course, Tulsi, unfortunately, is not going to be the president of the United States in the year 2020. So why did I vote for Donald Trump? Well, I voted for Trump in 2016 as well. Trump, to me, still represents an outside force. Now, you will say, and the smart people who do political analysis who are more left of center will say, but Trump is kind of just doing what presidents have been doing, except he dresses it up. He makes it him against the media, him against the world. And let me be clear, there is a time for that type of rhetoric, or there's a place for that type of rhetoric in our discussions. And Tulsi Gabbard faced the exact same onslaught that Donald Trump experienced. And Tulsi Gabbard had far more progressive views. And by the way, the Tulsi Gabbard platform, I feel more comfortable with than a Donald Trump platform. Much more comfortable with. I'm not saying they're interchangeable. Tulsi was serious when she said no more regime change war. Now, we can say, well, Trump is just rearranging the deck chairs on the war Titanic. Some of that is definitely true. Most of it is true. Has Trump started any new wars? No. Trump has publicly, and I know this is rhetoric and it's not action, but I mentioned this in other videos, that soundbite where he talks about generals and military insiders wanting to always go to war. That's his crazy talk, is what Eisenhower did when he said, beware of the military industrial complex. Trump knows that a long-term strategy to defeat this is to start to push back against it publicly. Here's the truth, though. Trump does not have the power. And this is what people need to get over when it comes to the presidency in general. The difference between a Donald Trump, though, and a Joe Biden is that Donald Trump is trying by himself to stand up against this. Is he having success? Yes and no. If he wins the election, you will see some of these career politicians, or not, politicians, but they're not really politicians. They're within the government structure, the military industrial, the media industrial. It's all tied together. Everything is tied together. I think Trump will, at that point, he'll be a lame duck, essentially, and now he can try to clean house. Donald Trump is trying to stand up to the establishment. He's trying. A lot of presidents, Joe Biden, it's kind of like the current in the ocean. Trump is kind of like swimming against the current, and he's not getting too far. Some people will say, well, he's doing a lot of these things. He's placating people. He's playing businessman strategy with some of these people, art of the deal, whatever it is. And it hasn't necessarily worked out all that well, but it's worked. Here's the key. It's worked better. It's worked better than not, in other words, pushing against it is better than swimming along with it. And Joe Biden he can't do a whole lot, but he'll be a super swimmer. All right. And I'm thinking of Ted Kennedy all of a sudden. Super swim. It's not funny. All right. So the Trump vote, in my mind, it's kind of like a stopgap vote. It says, I don't necessarily love you, Donald Trump. I don't necessarily think your rhetoric is happy-go-lucky and is uplifting, because it's not. I'm not upset about Trump's skin color, which is orange, apparently. I'm not really upset about his tweeting, which, people say, oh, he's tweeting. And they're running whole ads, tweets. He's tweeting. And Trump made this point, and it's a good point. Well, the media isn't communicating Trump's message, really. They're just trying. The whole 4 years has been destroy this man. Tulsi Gabbard ran for president. And from the day she declared, the goal within the Democratic establishment and the entire media establishment, neoconservatives hated Tulsi Gabbard, as well as neoliberals and some what I call neo-progressives. They couldn't stand her. They didn't want any happy talk between Tulsi Gabbard, and they don't want Tulsi Gabbard going on Mike Huckabee's show. They don't want Tulsi Gabbard to wish Rush Limbaugh well because he's dying of cancer. They don't want, because Rush Limbaugh is such a heinous figure to them that good riddance, right? That's not how human beings are supposed to conduct themselves. And you could say, well, Trump, he does a lot of this angry, mean stuff, and he's not very compassionate. No, Trump was not born with the spirit of compassion. In other words, he doesn't convey that. He doesn't convey it. All right, let's talk about policies. All right, you got Biden on the ballot, you got Trump on the ballot. So Trump did criminal justice reform. He did it. Van Jones showed up for the ceremony. It was that big of a deal. Prison reform. Donald Trump did it. Okay. giving money to historically black colleges and universities. Donald Trump did that. He did it. Now, a lot of Republicans, I remember in 2016, was like, I'm worried about this guy. He's kind of a closet lefty. I'm worried. I wasn't worried because I knew that Trump was a businessman. And in those days where he was either on television or just doing the real estate stuff, he essentially just brought everybody in. He didn't really care about party affiliation. He brought everybody in. And I think that is more in line with where he's at philosophically. And even though he doesn't do it with the spirit of aloha, he's tried to do it. And I've said this before on this channel, and I mean it. Imagine if you had 4 years with Donald Trump where the opposition party worked with Trump. Look what got done when Trump was able to kind of just, kind of thread the needle and do the criminal justice reform. And on healthcare, for instance, what could have gotten accomplished? Trump back in 2004, he was talking about single payer healthcare. Imagine if the Democrats had said, hey, President Trump, remember when you talked about this? I know you don't like Obamacare. By the way, Obamacare is a mess. It's just a big, and I've done videos about this because I worked for General Dynamics when they were contracted to take phone calls, basically a call center environment. And I can tell you, it's just a boon to insurance companies. All the subsidies go, and imagine your tax dollars because of inflated pricing all going to big pharma and insurance companies, because if they know they can get that kind of money from the government, they will raise premiums accordingly. And that's exactly what they did. So, but imagine, hey, Mr. President, you used to be for single payer. Remember when you talked about that in 2004? And people were like, he's nuts. And the Republicans, I remember at the time, they had audio back in 1999 of Trump talking about this, and it's way ahead of Bernie Sanders, right? But, if nobody's going to work with Trump, he's going to do the state lines thing, and it's portable, but it's still a mess. But he's going to do that sort of piecemeal, and it isn't going to fix the problem. Imagine if you had somebody like Tulsi Gabbard negotiating with Donald Trump on healthcare, and they left Donald Trump alone. They stopped going after him. They stopped accusing him of things that I don't even think he's capable of doing. Like I said before, Trump came into this, he wasn't smart enough to collude with anybody. He wasn't smart enough. He didn't have anybody smart enough in his campaign. He had campaign rallies. He did a Jesse Ventura on everybody. He had big rallies. People showed up and they liked it. And they're entertained by it. I'm entertained by it. What am I? Am I a bad person because Donald Trump is funny or he's interesting or he says crazy crap and I laugh? I do. I'm just telling it like it is. Tulsi Gabbard, when she gets colorful, can be very interesting. When she said that Trump isn't, or Saudi Arabia is Donald Trump's B word. Remember that? And, and that's not America first. And she was 100% correct, by the way. I love that. People love the honesty, the bluntness, the truth. Remember Queen of Warmongers? The tweet that you go look at it and it had all these likes, and you look at it again, the likes go away and the retweets go away. You have to keep going back to it to see if it's still there, and you nurture the tweet and you're like, I love you, tweet. Don't go away. Jack, please don't take this down. So my vote for Donald Trump was because Donald Trump, there's a slice of Tulsi Gabbard. And again, the media, if they watch this video, the media goes, see, those Trump people liked Tulsi Gabbard. That's why you couldn't vote for Tulsi Gabbard. No, here's the scoop. We liked Trump, but we thought we were being we didn't want to be selfish. In other words, we want to bring the country together. And Tulsi Gabbard was that person. I mean, she had some of the spunk of Trump in some ways, but then she had this aloha thing going, and then she had really great policies, and then she believes in free speech, and then she's articulate. All of these things. And you sit here and you go, well, Dave, you're just making the case that, you know, the right wingers like Tulsi Gabbard. You know what? I'm not on a wing. I'm not on a wing. Somebody asked Pastor Rick Warren years ago. They said, so are you left wing? Are you right wing? And Pastor Rick Warren said, actually, no, I'm the whole bird. And I love that. To this day, I've always loved that response. You know, it's like safe, legal, and rare. Okay, that's the Tulsi Gabbard position on abortion. Safe, legal. It's a Bill Clinton phrase. Safe, legal, and rare. Now we get guys who are making the baby comfortable and so forth to figure out what they're going to do with it. Yeah, no. Sorry. I mean, I'm for human rights. That's a human being. I'm for human rights. Okay? We can debate about, you know, minors getting pregnant and so forth, and have nice, robust, healthy debates about things where it's not so cut and dry. But Tulsi Gabbard, she was all about nuance. She was all about, okay, you're a gun owner. I understand what you're saying about your Second Amendment rights. I totally understand. On the other end, she would say, I totally get why you think assault weapons are not necessary, or you need some kind of restrictions, or you need to close off, you know, gun show loopholes, or I don't know, all kinds of loopholes that allow things to happen that shouldn't happen. Better background checks. I mean, these are the things that you could negotiate with. Preserving the second, like immigration, right? Most Americans, I think, want some kind of a border. Okay, it doesn't have to be an electrified fence, but most countries have borders. Otherwise, they're not countries anymore. And at the beginning of this whole campaign, I'm thinking, immigration, even Bernie Sanders used to be like, hey, you know, you're letting in all these people, you're undercutting wages. The wages are going down, and, you know, workers are getting really hurt by it. Yeah, that was the Bernie position until it went crazy, leftist, virtue signaling, kids in cages. By the way, who built the cages, Joe? So you could have kept saying that for 15 minutes. And again, Trump destroyed Biden in that last debate. And honestly, that was kind of, for me, the moment where I realized, just vote for Trump. We'll see what happens. He might lose, but just vote for Trump. Trump is better. Trump is better than Biden. And that's why I voted for Trump. And for me to say Trump is better than Biden is, people with cognitive skills realize that you can't have a guy who yesterday or the day before said that George was his opponent. George W. Bush was his opponent. Okay, you're cognitively not fit to be dog catcher in my neighborhood. Please suspend your campaign. That's what I would have said. He needs to suspend his campaign. All right, the country, we can't go from Trump to a guy who can't think. Literally can't think. And then you have Kamala running the country. And God help us if Kamala Harris becomes president right away. Nobody on either the left or the right want Kamala Harris as president. That would be a disaster for this country. But I'm still a Tulsi supporter. Through all of this, I'm a Tulsi supporter. Tulsi Gabbard was like a Trump type character in some ways, but in a lot of other ways, she wasn't. And what she could have done, and Trump people who defected and started to follow her felt better about themselves. Their conscience was clearer, cleaner, whatever. They're like, yeah, I mean, I like Trump, but Tulsi's got military service. Tulsi loves the country. Tulsi's a true environmentalist. Like, she cares about clean air and clean water. Tulsi stood at Standing Rock. Tulsi could stand next to a conservative like Mike Huckabee, and she could stand right next to a more progressive guy. I don't know, pick progressives who are out there. And, whether it be a media type or just somebody who, believed in some of the things she believed in. This is why, again, like channels like TYT, for instance, can't stand her. They don't want any cross-pollination. They don't want Tulsi Gabbard hanging out with the wrong people. You might as well, Cenk, you might as well just join the right wing. Join the right wing. Again, Cenk, there are no wings on this plane anymore. We are flying, independent airlines. That's what we're flying. The people who are in the plane, they realize that the plane is on fire. Both engines aren't working. And the wings, the left wing, the right wing, they ain't working. They ain't working. We need something better. We need Tulsi Gabbard in the cabin so she can steer the plane. We need somebody like her, if not her. So this nonsense that we keep hearing about left and right and this and that, it's us against the ruling class. It's us, left, right. And when I say left, right, I'm talking about cultural issues more than anything else. Things like abortion. Things like, just these divisive issues that keep popping up where people just, hey, I'm a Christian. I don't believe in what you're telling me. My faith teaches me otherwise. I really, truly follow my faith. Can't have that, apparently, in the year 2020. You have to be, devoid of faith. And Tulsi Gabbard is not. If anything, Tulsi Gabbard is way more spiritual than Donald Trump. Donald Trump is Christian in name only. And those who support him as a Christian just look at policy. They're not looking at his behavior. You can look at Tulsi Gabbard, and she would be, again, content with hanging out with Mike Huckabee. She could probably hang out with people on the so-called Christian right, and she can hang out with people on the progressive left and be welcomed. This is the kind of person we need. And it's a shame that the Democratic Party stopped her in her tracks. It's a shame, but it was payback. Payback for what she did when she stepped down because she saw shenanigans. And she didn't get anything from endorsing Bernie Sanders. She didn't get anything from Bernie Sanders. She didn't get anything. It was just a complete lost cause for her. She did a lot of good things. She stuck up for what she believed in, and she decided, you know what, I'll run for president. And they were like, yeah, you're not getting anywhere. She was the most entertaining, the most exciting candidate on that stage because she was talking about real issues. And she would have destroyed Trump in a debate. She would have destroyed him because she would have called Trump out on issues. She would have called things out, and she would have talked about what she would have done differently as president. She would have talked about both sides, but she would also have come to that conclusion that we can do better. In other words, if you're just calling out the right all the time, the right's going to get mad. They're just going to say, well, you just hate me. You just hate who I am. You hate my belief system. There's a candidate down here running for Congress who's doing that, and I didn't vote for her. I voted for the Republican because I don't like the rhetoric. I'm tired of you're a fascist or you're this or you're that because you don't believe in this creed. I'm tired of people who own guns are evil. They're not. They're probably your neighbor. And if you need protection, you might go see your neighbor. You know what I mean? Things are not black and white anymore. Things are very gray. And that's why I say, again, it's not left wing, it's not right wing, it's the whole bird. And I voted for Trump as a defensive measure. Donald Trump, Jo Jorgensen, was she a good vote? Yeah, she's a good vote. Vote for Joe if you want to vote for Joe. If you want to write in Tulsi Gabbard, write in Tulsi Gabbard. Those are good votes. I live in the state of Florida. This is a battleground state. I do not want Joe Biden as president of the United States. Hence, that's why I voted for Donald Trump, because Donald Trump has the best chance of defeating Joe Biden. It's come down to that, folks. That's my vote. It was a defensive vote. It was not an offensive vote. I didn't go to the poll and go, wow, I'm just nuts about Trump. But I do look at the way the media goes after Trump, the way the media went after Tulsi, the way the media goes after people who either have different views or have pertinent information on a topic, like the son of a presidential candidate right now who is up to his armpits, if not higher, in scandal. And that scandal ties right back to his whole family. You can't find the videos. You can't find the information. But it's out there and people are talking about it. So I wanted to make a video. I didn't get to tell Charles my vote. In fact, he was saying, I think he was talking about Joe Jorgensen. And I said, yeah, I voted for Trump. I didn't tell him, and I should have, but I gave my rationale here. Again, I will be declaring my independence from the two parties. I had to register. I mean, I had to do a lot of things this year to vote here in Florida. There's actually a question, which is awesome, on the Florida ballot, and a lot of Republicans don't like it, but it basically is, do you want to open up these primaries? And yes, I do, because I want to be an independent. I want to register as an independent or a libertarian, but I'm probably just going to go back to being an independent again. But in order to vote in primaries, this race or that race, you got to register as a Republican. This year, I was registered as a Green, a Democrat, and a Republican. That's a screwed up system. It really is. And that's why things aren't going to change until we clean up the way our elections are run. And yes, Tulsi Gabbard, all about ballot harvesting right now. Donald Trump been saying this thing is not safe. You're going to, what did he say? This will not end well for our country. That's what he said. This will not end well. And Tulsi Gabbard is on it. She's got a bill, and I guarantee you the Democrats, Republicans, and this is the thing, you've got to start to kind of like make a determination that maybe Republicans aren't always wrong. All right. Republicans don't like ballot harvesting for the most part, although I think they're using it in California. They're not going to win anything in California, but so that's probably when they were trying to cheat so they can win. It's bad on either side, but I can tell you this, the Democrats have far more organization. Biden, who misspoke again, said he started a whole ballot fraud organization. That's what he said. The truth is in the gaff. It's right there to be heard. So yeah, I voted for Trump and I don't regret it. We'll see what happens on election day. It might go to Biden anyway because of all of the fraud. You got to think of it. They rigged the primary against Tulsi Gabbard. They rigged the election last time in favor of Hillary Clinton. You go down the list of things that the Democrats have rigged in the last 4 years, and it's consistent. You know, the fact that so many ballots got cast in California and it swayed the popular vote, obviously. Did Hillary Clinton win by that many votes in California? Maybe she did, but maybe she didn't, you know? And of course, that puts the whole idea in people's heads. Oh, well, Trump didn't win the popular vote. I mean, this could happen again. Because the blue areas are just so deep blue and they're just going to vote. And then they're going to be ballots that show up mysteriously to run up the score even more in those states. Anyway, it's probably happened in Broward County down here in Florida again. Imagine Debbie Wasserman Schultz winning again. Seriously. I mean, a party hack who's been caught doing so many things. And I'm rooting for the Republican. Whoever it is running against her, please win. But, you know, you're running in Broward County where I think they have a giant like warehouse somewhere in the county where they can go and they just pull ballots by the truckload and dump them out wherever they need to be dumped out. And people are like, wow, where did they find all these ballots? This is amazing. Debbie Wasserman Schultz wins again. And Nancy Pelosi wins again. And our country loses again. All right. And I'm criticizing a lot of Democrats. There are a lot of Republicans too. I'm not nutty about Mitch McConnell. I'm not nutty about the same old neoconservative Marco Rubio types, who is one of my senators here in Florida. I'm not all that nutty about people like him. It's the status quo. You know, there's no outsider mentality. There's no rebellious side of things. It's Russia, Russia, Russia. It's let's go to Venezuela. It's why I voted for Tulsi Gabbard in the primaries and then, you know, Donald Trump for president. But you do what you want to do with your vote. It's your vote. It's a sacred thing. You want to vote for Tulsi? God love you. I hope you do. If you want to vote for Joe Jorgensen, it's a good choice. Maybe you build a movement outside of the two-party nightmare. I think you need something a little bit more populist than what libertarianism offers, but it's just my opinion. And yeah, the country is in debt and the Great Reset is on. So we shall see if the Great Reset, and I should do a video about that, takes hold, because everything is converging where things are going to get reset in a way where people's lives are deeply affected for years to come. And I hope we can avoid that, but it doesn't look good right now. So that's my video. I'm sticking to it. My name is Dave. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please think about it. I'd like to see subscriber counts go up. So maybe I don't think the channel is being throttled back, because I have suspicions. Because I know there are a ton of Tulsi supporters. Tulsi is approaching 1 million followers on Twitter. So if you haven't followed Tulsi on Twitter, do that. We'll get her over 1 million. And we'll see. I'm hoping she's not going to drop out of public life for good. I hope she's going to pursue something in the political arena. And we have to build some kind of real independent movement in order to circumvent the nonsense of the two-party nightmare. So thanks again for watching, and peace and aloha. How's that? Talk to you soon.